Hello, I'm John Elkington. I apologize for the sunglasses. I don't normally wear them, but I have an eye condition that makes me sensitive to sunlight, and today there's a lot of sunshine. So when we started with the triple bottom line, I mean, there really no companies were doing anything like that anywhere in the world. And then very soon, a small number of companies started to pick up the concept and apply it. So an earlier one was Shell. So it's a fossil fuels company. It's on the wrong side of history, but nonetheless, they were interested. How could they apply a triple bottom line framework to what they did? And in 1997, I think it was, they published their first ever sustainability report, and it was called People, Planet, Profit. And so they were trying to work out how you calculate value but created and value destroyed. Novo Nordisk, a Danish company, then both in enzymes and in healthcare, human healthcare, also picked it up. In effect, they became the first B corporation. So B corporations embraced the triple bottom line. They didn't formally register as one, but they were the first company, in my understanding, who embraced it, that agenda fully. And I worked with them for probably overall 20 years as they tried to get their brains around it, then tried to embed it, and so on. Now, any particular company goes through cycles, and you have CEOs who understand and commit, and you have then replacement CEOs who think differently. And at that time, you sort of had an up and then quite sharply down dynamic in companies. Now it's slightly different, or it was slightly different until Trump got into the White House. And what was the pattern that we began to see was where if you had a succession in a company, the new CEO did not instantly reverse all the triple bottom line or ESG or sustainability work that his or her predecessor was doing, but they worked out how to carry it forward. Now with Trump, you've got a lot more questioning. You've got more companies asking, do we really need to do this? Our competitors aren't doing this, why should we? And so on. We're very much in a zero-sum world, which wasn't true for much of the evolution of sustainability. And then the question is, what do companies get wrong? And in my mind, one of the things that they get profoundly wrong, and consistently and routinely, is they think that this is basically a matter of trade-offs. So any form of management and accounting and so on is about trade-offs. But when they think about the triple bottom line, what they're thinking about is, well, we make a profit. That's the economic side. That box ticked. Well, the economic agenda is very much bigger than just the question of whether you make a profit or not. We employ people. We give people what they want or they need. So that's the social box tick. Well, no, again, and the social agenda is much, much bigger, particularly if you get into human rights and some of those bigger themes, and particularly if you're in a company like Facebook or Google or Microsoft or OpenAI or whatever, and you're developing AI, because you think that just simply by providing an AI service or product, you're giving people what they want. You're not taking into account fully all of the different social and human implications of this. The impact on democracy would be just one extreme example. And then very often what you get is companies saying at the end of all of this, well, yeah, but it's a shame about the environment. We do all this good stuff in other areas, but the environment suffers. Or it may be the society suffers. It depends on the company and the industry and the geography. But I think that when I did the product recall in 2018 through Harvard Business Review, that was my message, that this isn't, at least in my mind, it was never about trade-offs. They happen, they need to be, you need to pay attention to those trade-off dynamics. But it's fundamentally about how do you integrate the creation of net positive value on the economic, on the social, and the environmental sides. And just final point there is at the time when I did all of this. Politics was somewhere out there. I mean, business was encouraged, like Shell after Nigeria, the executions of Ken Saro-Wiwa and his colleagues in Nigeria. Shell had long been encouraged to stay out of politics. No big company stays out of politics. And then they were encouraged to come back in as long as they pushed the right line, was don't hang these protesters against oil development in Nigeria. So, but now what we have is a radically politicized agenda and a growing assumption that companies will be involved in politics, and that activity needs to be very much more transparent. And one of the projects that we're doing at Volans, my company, is looking at the way in which companies advocate and lobby for particular types of policy framework, or the removal of policy frameworks. So that's a bit about the history. It's a bit about what companies, I think, get wrong. But when you look at the B Corporation movement, and that's 10,000 companies, and some big companies like Natura in Brazil, who I visited just a few weeks ago in Brazil, these are companies that understand it needs to be an integrated approach, but there's still that tension between people who have a minimalist view. All they'll do is say, well, we have a triple bottom line approach, and those who properly understand it and properly try to embed it, integrate it into everything that they do.